Okay, for us that are already here, making sure that we have a notebook and a pen, because we will do an activity at the end. And you might want to make notes, even though we are going to send a little pack with the recording and with the notes. So don't worry if you can't get it all down, and don't worry if it's like a lot of information to process. Maybe we can get it on the mental plane the first time we listen to it, but then actually kind of integrating that on a cellular level takes time. So yeah, know that we're going to send the recording and we're going to send the notes. So you get that as well. Okay, one more minute and we'll go. Okay, so Tamsin, you can let people in as they come through, but we're going to start. So firstly, welcome everyone. I am so excited about this mini talk, workshop experience together. I give a lot of workshops and I do a lot of teaching on different integrative health practices, but this is actually the first time that I've dedicated something just to money. I think it's because we have this almost as a taboo to speak about, and I've definitely had to work through my own personal conditioning to even start talking about this publicly, right? But I'm really excited because it's something that's been huge in my personal journey, in my personal transformation, and for me it's such a privilege to be able to share with you guys, because it's one of the things that has given me freedom and relaxation in my life. So a little bit about housekeeping before we start. There is a chat box, so if you have any questions, it would be amazing if you can pop the questions in the chat box. I will answer questions at the end. I'm gonna do quite a lot of theory initially, so do feel free to ask those questions as they come up, and then we can look at them together at the end, okay? And if everyone can keep their microphone muted whilst I'm speaking, that would be wonderful, because if not, we get this kind of like funky echo. So yeah, I think it's just better for everyone that we don't have that. And at the end, again, when we're looking at questions, like, I will invite you all to open your microphone and share your experiences as well. So yeah, for you guys that don't know me, I think I know a lot of people here, but there are a lot of new faces as well. So I'm Hannah. I'm half Spanish, half English. I live in Malaga, and I am an integrative health practitioner and expert. So this means that I work with multiple healing modalities to help people cultivate a life that they deeply desire. This can be in respect to money, this can be in respect to health, this can be in respect to various things, and that's why I use so many tools. My greatest passion is teaching people that you can do it too. Especially, you know, today we're going to be talking about money. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my money journey. My passion is really to show people and to show all of you that you guys can go through the same, okay? A lot of this is going to be dedicated on mistakes that I make. So maybe you don't have to make them, even though part of, you know, achieving something is actually failing. Oh, I think there's one microphone open. If we could just mute that, please. Ooh. Sam, can you mute that, please? Amazing. Amazing. Fab. So yes, usually I tell my whole story, how I started working in this field, but today I'm really going to speak about my money story. And for me, my money story started a couple of years ago when I read The Secret. I think a lot of us here will have read The Secret, or we started exploring the law of attraction, and a seed was planted, right? There was hope in that, oh, maybe I don't have to work so hard and be broke all the time. Like, can you imagine? Like, that was my thought process initially. So I've been living in India for a year, and I came home because my mum was terminally ill. And so that took a priority in my life. And I went from living in India where I could afford everything. Like, you know, in India, you pay for a tuk-tuk or a taxi and it's super cheap. And I wasn't working that much. And I just felt very, very free in that. And I moved to Malaga and I decided to set up a business, and I did not feel financially free. I was making about 600 to 800 euros, which is barely enough to live. And I actually remember thinking to myself, maybe what I'm going to do to save money is I'm just going to like stop eating breakfast, and that way, you know, I'm going to have more money for the rest of my life, you know? And so as you can imagine, that was not a successful technique. And it's even more surprising because I am a nutritionist, right? So that is how stressed I was. That was, you know, a real low point for me. And I'd read this law of attraction book. I'd been exploring kind of the energetics behind wealth. And I thought to myself, you know, I really want to give this a go. And so I started really this journey by writing a check to myself and putting it in my altar for 2,000 euros, right? At the time, 2,000 euros was a huge amount of money for me. Right now, it's like, but at that moment, it was a vast thing. And I put that on my altar. And that month, I earned 1,998, and I'd been earning 800 before. And there was something in my brain that went, Hannah, explore this, because there's something here. It's not just about the actions. There is something energetic that is happening to cultivate this increased wealth for you. And I could go more into depth, but in summary, within 8 months of working on my financial abundance, investing myself, taking risks, making crazy life decisions, really tapping out of that mental limitation and tapping into that body wisdom, I moved from my crappy little flat in the center of Malaga to a house with a yoga studio in the garden, a swimming pool, a sweat lodge, a temazcal also, and having a completely different life experience. Fast forward a year from then, and it's where I am now. I've made over 100,000 pretty effortlessly. And it's very easy for me to make anything between 10 to 20 grand a month, not from work, just because I'm open to what is abundance coming through me, okay? And one of the limitations we have around finances, money, is that we can only make money through our jobs. This is a lie that you've been told, and it will limit your life experience the more that you believe it. So I really want to explain to you more in depth how I went from earning 800 to 10,000, 20,000 effortlessly per month. And I also want to explain to you how this is available to all of us, right? When I was planning this talk, I pulled a tarot card, and the tarot card said, when you open your heart and trust yourself, the universe will always guide you in the right direction. And I think that summarizes my journey pretty well, and it summarizes what this will look like for you guys as well. But before we get into that, I would like to all drop into the room. I'd love for all of us to close our eyes and take 3 breaths and just connect heart to heart and drop into this space of openness. I'm going to share some ideas with some of you that might be not in your belief system. They might be triggering. So let's get really present and breathe together and connect and enjoy this hour together. So let's close our eyes and let's inhale deeply into our belly. Exhaling through the mouth. 2 more times. Exhaling through the mouth. Inhale. And exhale. Opening our eyes gently, coming back to the room. So beautiful to see all of your faces. Okay. So I want to start with the basics behind how we use the law of attraction to create financial abundance. Now, I imagine we have two groups of people here. So we have the group of people that have heard of the law of attraction, that they've experienced it, that they've tried it, and for some reason, it's not working for us, okay? And we have another group of people who maybe have never tried it, and this is a completely new concept. You know, the fact that we could even create wealth through energy and through practices that aren't just a work, right? This can be completely new. And whether we've heard of this or not, I invite you to listen to the basics clearly, because sometimes we need to really start from the start and understand the lessons clearly before we can get on to the more advanced stuff. So the law of attraction states that your thoughts, your beliefs, and your vibrational point of attraction create your reality. Tamsin, we have a slide, my love. Do you mind popping that up so everyone can see that? So this in a nutshell means what we think we create. Oh, amazing. Here we go. Fab. Amazing. If it's small for you, you can put your things on the screen and increase it. Amazing. Fab. So the law of attraction states your thoughts, your beliefs, and your vibrational point of attraction create your reality. What we think we create, basically. So I want to bring this to the theme of money. If we think rich, we are rich in our life, quite simply, okay? So when we start using the law of attraction, it's when we start affirming this. So we start being aware of the language that we're using around money. We declare, I am abundant, right? And then that creates our life experience. When we start working with the law of attraction and the unseen forces in life, we also start to realize that life is a feedback system to our internal world. In other words, it's a mirror to what we have inside. What we experience externally is actually what we believe and think internally. And it's also reflecting our point of attraction energetically. So let me give you a concrete example. Maybe my beliefs are money is bad, you have to work really hard to create money, I will never have money because that's just not my story, okay? So that's our internal world, that's our internal reality. And because life is going to feed that back to us, what's reflected in our day-to-day life is scarcity. It is that you have to work really hard to create money, right? That money isn't for you, so you're not experiencing this wealth. And it works as a feedback system, not to punish you, right? Because sometimes we can get really angry with life, like, oh, I didn't want to manifest this, right? It's reflecting what you believe so you can see it. So if you feel at this stage in your life right now that you're living in scarcity, you have fear around money, that you're not living abundantly financially, all this is doing is saying to you, your beliefs around money are aligned with this. Look at your beliefs. If you want to change your financial reality, you're going to have to change your beliefs, okay? And that's really the law of attraction and the energetic basis, vibrational basis of creating wealth. And a lot of us understand that, okay? A lot of us have heard this before. We've read The Secret. We've read The Law of Attraction. We might have read like a Louise Hay book. Like, this is pretty common nowadays, but we still find that we're not creating wealth. So we say our affirmations, we do our money practices, we're practicing this, and we're not living financial freedom. And so the workshop is really designed today to explore what is blocking you, what are the common mistakes that people make when changing their financial reality. What mistakes did I make? Because I have made so many. And for me, it really is medicine to share that with you, so you can explore that within yourself and actually become aware that you are making the same mistakes and what we can do to rectify that, okay? And that's really the structure this like mini talk workshop's going to take. But before we go on to that, I want to tap into what is wealth? What is wealth? What is true prosperity? And a lot of us have a limited view of wealth, and we think wealth is just money. But we want a wealth of time, money, love, joy, freedom. So everything that I teach today, I want you to know that you can apply it to any area of your life where you're feeling scarcity, where you're feeling lack, where you're feeling not enoughness, okay? Because true prosperity, true wealth is an expansive place. And some people make a lot of money, but they're not wealthy, right? Because they don't have time or joy or family or love, right? And they focus so much on money that there's scarcity in the rest of their life. And I want you to know that we can have it all. And I did that initially. I focused so much on money that I forgot about everything else. I sacrificed speaking to my family. I sacrificed seeing my friends as much. And when I got there, that wasn't an abundant place. That place didn't feel good. And so now I'm at a new place, right? Where I worked on my time abundance, my money abundance, allowing love in, exploring freedom in my life. And so that is true wealth. And I share that with you because that was a big mistake I made on the journey. I also want to define wealth for you guys when we start cultivating wealth, okay? Because we just think of wealth as making money, and it's not. Wealth has got 3 stages, right? And we can be blocked in any stage, and that really, really blocks us being abundant. So the first stage is what we all think of. The first stage of wealth is I'm opening myself to receive money, right? I'm declaring I am open to receiving money, right? So that's when, suddenly I make 2 grand or suddenly I make 10 grand. But if we haven't worked on stage 2 and stage 3, as easy as that money comes in, it goes out. Suddenly we have a car bill. Suddenly we have to pay for this unexpected expense. And it's because we've not worked on the sensations of feeling wealth and maintaining it, okay? So the second stage is maintaining a bank account with money. And this does not mean that you suddenly get like, I've made money and I refuse to pay things and I'm not going to buy anything, because that's scarcity as well. We want to feel free. We want to understand that money comes in and it goes out. But we want to get to the third stage of wealth is money comes in easily, we share, we give, we feel free to invest and spend, but our bank account always increases. And that's where I am at. So every month, regardless if I work or I don't work, I receive money and my bank account is continuously increasing. My savings are continuously increasing. And because I've worked through all of this, it is now effortless. And I really, 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 really say this because I went from, and a lot of you don't know me, being, working an hour and a half teaching yoga in India, right? Earning next to no money, living on a beach, to suddenly being wealthy, to suddenly having this experience. And if I can do it, there is absolutely no reason why everyone watching this cannot. And what we have to understand is to do this, it's not just about declaring it, it's about working through all the barriers and limitations and blocks we have to allowing ourselves to be wealthy, okay? And that's what we're going to explore now. So in summary, to create wealth from a vibrational, energetic perspective, it's being aware of our thoughts and beliefs and our point of attraction and creating wealth from that, okay? So Tam, can you go on to slide 2, please? Thanks. Tam is like one of the best people in my life. I don't know if you guys know her. We live together and we're working together, and it's just like, she was a gift from the universe. I said, universe, I need someone that can help me with my workload so I can be in pleasure and not pressure in my job. And they gave me such a gift. and it was so much better than I could have expected. So this is what happens when we co-create with the universe as well. When we tap into trust, very often what we manifest is better than what we could have imagined. And Tamsin for me is that. So yeah, thank you, Tamsin. So let's explore those common mistakes for why the law of attraction is not working for you, okay? So the first thing, and this is the most common thing that I see, is that a lot of people, when they start working on their wealth, they start with affirmations. And so in the morning, they say their affirmations. I am wealthy, I make money, my income is constantly increasing, okay? But everything we think and everything we say is an affirmation. So maybe in the morning, you're saying your affirmations. But throughout the rest of your day, you're saying, oh, but I can't afford that. Oh, but, and so even though you're spending 5 minutes of your day affirming wealth, you're spending 95% of your day affirming scarcity. So obviously the universe is getting an incongruent message. And the way to actually increase our wealth is a practice of discipline and structure. So here's the thing, energetically, we always want to be in balance with our feminine energy and our masculine energy. And our feminine is opening and receiving and trust. And our masculine is discipline and structure. And if you want to create financial well-being and freedom, we need to have both energies, right? And this is where the discipline comes in. I'm going to practice awareness of my thoughts. I'm going to be disciplined with what I'm saying. So maybe you go out with your friends and there's this restaurant and it looks really delicious and it's like this organic, amazing stuff. And your friend said, do you want to eat there? And you notice your impulse is, I can't afford that. I want you to start practicing awareness that that's what's coming to you. And I don't want you to say that. I invite you to choose a different story. Okay? So we want to be willing to afford that, to declare that we can afford that. And I want to give you actually a real life example for me. When I started working with financial well-being, I had about $1,000 in my account. And within that month, I actually decided to invest $5,000. Sounds crazy, right? Mentally does not make sense. I decided to do a course on shamanic medicine, which was $4,000 in total for me, including course costs, flights, and all of this. And I said yes to that when I did not have the money, because I trusted the money would come. And so we need to be able to trust the money is going to come, and we need to be able to declare that. I also joined what's called a mandala process. Some of us will know that, some of us won't. This call isn't about that. And that involved gifting over $1,000 to a woman I didn't know in Argentina. My mind told me I was crazy, and my body told me that this was the right way. And so I invested that. And by the time that I finished that course, I not only manifested that money, but tripled it, more than that. I remember I needed $600 to pay for the course, and I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. But I never said, I cannot pay for this. I said, the money is coming. The money is here. One day I do a women's circle. One of the girls speaks to her friend, and her friend calls me that evening, and she's like, Hannah, I want to work with you. She paid exactly the quantity I needed to pay for that course. I booked my flight for this course, hadn't paid for it, and I trusted the money to come. Okay? At no stage did I say I cannot afford this. So we want to be really, really clear in our day-to-day that we're not speaking in scarcity, that we are affirming that we can. So that's the biggest mistake that I probably see. And I think incongruence is a theme that runs through all of the mistakes. And this really brings me to my second common mistake, which is that you're claiming abundance, or you're, stating these things. Maybe you've bought a ritual, which is, to bring in money, but actually your felt sense is tapping into scarcity, okay? So there's incongruence between your words and your feelings. And so what we really need to work with there, and I'm going to give you practical ways to work with each of these points in a second, but we need to really be cultivating a sense of abundance. So maybe financially right now we don't have abundance, okay, but how can we find that feeling of abundance? Go into nature and look at the trees with all the fruit, right? It's abundant, and tap into that sense. So we want to really be focusing not just on our words, but we want to be focusing on our feeling. How can I meditate on the feeling of abundance? Because then you're creating a point of attraction that is abundant. So our second mistake is incongruence between words and feelings. Our third mistake, and this is when we're really getting into it, is that the work that we're doing is too shallow. Okay? We come into this and we just want it to be easy, and it can be easy. But to change and actually create this change in our life initially requires discipline and effort. And we need to tap into the deeper work. You need to work on your money beliefs. If you're not working on your money beliefs, right, you're affirming abundance, but deep down in your head, you believe that money is bad. If I say to you guys, I love money, or if you say that, what pops into your head? Does that trigger you? Do you feel that's not true? Do you make judgment towards that? If we have all of these beliefs around money that are negative, that's the experience that we're creating. So the third mistake is that we haven't done the deeper work around our money beliefs. And this can be with anything in our relationships or our house or any of these things. Let me give you an example in relationships, right? What's really interesting in relationships is that we manifest our beliefs, like I mentioned, right? So let's say we have a belief that all men cheat. I don't have this belief, but I'm going to use it as an example, okay? And this can be relevant to women or any, any gender or whatever relating situation we're in, okay? But we believe the opposite, that the person that we want to be dating always cheats. If we have that belief, that's what we're going to always attract. So we're going to keep experiencing situations where someone's cheating on us. And we're going to make that false conclusion that people always cheat. But that conclusion is actually not true. What is true is that we believe that. And unless we do the deeper work and we explore those unconscious beliefs that very often come from our childhood, we're going to keep repeating the same pattern, okay? And we want to stop repeating patterns. And this is when it comes to radical responsibility. You want to change your life and create the life that you desire. You're going to have to take responsibility for every single thing in your life. And I do something with my clients. When we manifest something that we love, we say, I manifested that. And when we manifest something in our life that we don't like, we say, I manifested that, right? Because you did. And it's not about blame and it's not about judgment. And I want to bring some play to this as well. But it is about radical responsibility. Remember, life is feedback to your internal world. So we can get curious. What is this saying about me? What is this saying about what I believe? Right? And this is going to be a process that we continue throughout our whole life. This doesn't end. We constantly go through periods of expansion, which is what you'll be going through as you elevate your financial wealth. Then what happens is we kind of go into this phase of ease. And then when we expand again, we have to break through more beliefs and more blockages. And then we go through uncomfortableness. So when you're feeling uncomfortable, it's not that you're doing it wrong. It very much is that you're changing something within you, and that's uncomfortable, and you're actually doing it right. Which sounds contra intuition, but it really is how it works. And so this nicely ties into my next common mistake, which is that you have not explored your unconscious energetic blockages that are being reflected to you. So let's say we keep having situations of scarcity being reflected back to us, okay? And to change this, we're going to have to explore why. The way that creativity works from an energetic perspective and a purely energetic perspective, we are constantly co-creating with the universe our reality, okay? And when we have no blockages, this is like a clear channel, right? So we have a thought and then maybe instant manifestations. I've worked with this a lot, so I have experienced instant manifestations in my life. I have a desire, it appears that day. I want to work with this person, it appears that day. So for me, that's part of my practice. But what I've had to do to get there is work through the energetic and emotional blockages I have. And this is where your personal responsibility comes into it, okay? Because if we have blockages, what that does is it creates a block within that channel of creativity. It creates a block within our co-creation with the universe. And very often these blockages appear in childhood, right? So very often they're associated around unworthiness. Recently, I had a really big blockage around unworthiness, really big, and it was really uncomfortable. It was really painful, and I had to do like this inner child work. And until I did that, I couldn't create on the external world, right? And so we make this mistake of we have to focus on our external reality to create, and so focused in action. Action is important, but we need to be working through those internal blockages to create that change. So it's internal first, then external. So what do we believe about ourselves as children? I was the youngest in my class, and I was very, very much overlooked. And so for a lot of work for me to create things in my life have been overcoming that I deeply feel, or my inner child deeply feels, that I'm too small, right? And I'm not worth that. And unless I work on that continuously and I take responsibility for that, then it keeps blocking me. And so you're going to have your own blockages. You're going to have your own stories. And what actually happens, without getting too much into this, is when we're very small children, we don't store those blockages as even mental patterns. We store them as emotions. Very often in the womb area, if we're women, in the organs. And this is kind of dense emotional energy that collects and blocks that clear channel. You want to create abundance in your life. You want to create abundance in time, love, money, any of these things. You have to work through these things. You have to work through these blockages. And you're only going to know they're there when you manifest something that you don't like. And that's the process. And when we get into that, we realize it's a game, right? So we manifest something and we're like, instead of being like, oh, life's harder, getting into victim consciousness, we're like, okay, this is an opportunity to know myself deeper, right? And to clear something within me. This is an opportunity for deeper healing. This is an opportunity for expansion, right? And when we change that perspective, this all becomes lighter and more enjoyable, okay? So, unconscious energetic blockages, that is a common mistake. We stay in the superficiality and we don't explore that. Another super common mistake I get is people saying to me, I hear you, Han, I hear you. It makes sense, rationally understand it, but I'll believe it when I see it. If we're in the philosophy of I will believe it when I see it, we can only create stuff that's already available in our life. Do you see what I mean? We can only repeat what we're already living. To create something new, we have to believe in the unseen. We have to believe in our vision before creation in the physical reality. We have to believe that our dreams are possible. This is tied in with trust. And a lot of things that I see in people is sometimes people prefer not to try because that feels safer than failing. So sometimes it can be vulnerable, and that's something that we have to work through as well. But I will believe it when I see it is going to keep you stuck. You want to learn how to manifest your deepest desires? You have to truly believe in the unseen before you real life it. And there's nothing we can do to change that because that's how it works. So that's a path of trust. And I'm going to give you some more tips on that in the next slide. And our final common mistake, and this is to a very specific person, which is myself. So my name is Hannah and I'm a recovering control freak. I like to feel that I can control everything. I am extremely fiery. And when I'm in control, I don't manifest, right? When we're in control, we're not in trust. We're forcing. I see this a lot in business owners. So I'm an entrepreneur. I know a lot of entrepreneurs. It's one of the most common mistakes that I see. When we're in force, people feel that, and that actually repels. That financially, relationship-wise, all of these things, right? The opposite of control is trust, right? When we're in control, right? So imagine that we're someone that's been manifesting our abundance and we're in control. This can look like you do your money affirmations every day, you do like a money ritual every week, like you do all of the practices, you're super rigid, and every day you look at your bank account like, why is it not growing? The fact that you're constantly checking and being like, why is it not here? That creates resistance. When we have resistance, it doesn't drop into our physical reality, okay? You're trying too hard. Basically, the most common mistake that I very often see in this industry, especially in entrepreneurs, is trying too hard. We need a really good structure that we trust in, that we can open to. And this is where mentorship is really powerful, because when you work one-to-one with someone that's done this before, I've worked with so many mentors in my journey, and I think that's why I've quantum leaped so much. It's a lot easier to tap into trust because you see it's possible in front of you, okay? And these are our common mistakes. And if we have any questions on these, you can ask me when we get to the end. But here I wanna, Tam, can you change the slide, please? I wanna break down for you how to manifest as a formula. So one of my favorite things to do is to take something that's energetic and very hard to quantify and put it in like almost an equation. And that's because I'm extremely mathematical and very Virgo, and I just enjoy structures. Like I enjoy things that cannot be structured and putting it into a structure, and I've always been that way. And I just think it means that we can understand something that is very hard to comprehend mentally and put it into practical steps, okay? So for me, and what works for me, manifestation of any deep desire that you have, and I want you to be bold after this workshop. I want you to really, truly work on manifesting the things that you are scared to even declare, okay? Because that's really, truly abundant living. So manifesting looks like this. Step one, you declare your deepest desire. You get clear on your vision. We can do this numerous ways. You can tell a friend, I am a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire. Maybe that feels big for you guys now. It's not that big when you start working with this, okay? So maybe it can be, I have a successful online business. Maybe it can be, I buy land and have a beautiful, beautiful farm and community. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. You can get clear by doing a vision board. You can get clear by writing it down and putting it on your mirror. You can get clear by telling your friend. Step two, practice discipline and awareness of your thoughts and the words that you speak. Where are you being incongruent to what you desire, right? This involves radical honesty. Where are you still declaring scarcity? Where are you still telling people that, oh, this is my desire, but I'm not sure, and you know? We think we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually blocking ourselves. Stage three, cultivate feelings of abundance. How can we do this? Get into nature. Nature is so abundant. We have so many animals and fruits and farms, and you go and sit next to the sea, right? And you can't help but just feel this release, this clearing. Spend time closing your eyes, visualizing yourself in 6 months with all your deep desires as if it was happening now. And feel it as a sensory experience. How would I feel with 100 grand saved in my account? How would I feel with 500 grand in my account? How would that feel? What would I do? How would I act? Embody it. Move your body like that person. It's another form of declaration to the universe. Step 4, we're going to do the deep work now. We're going to do the uncomfortable work, and we're going to dive deep into our money beliefs, okay? We're going to get curious. And sometimes we can really hold on to our truth. Like, we want our truth to be our truth, and it's the only truth. And it's frightening to even imagine there are other truths. But there are. And I'm not even asking you to choose my truth. I'm just asking you to curiously explore that there may be other truths. And explore if the beliefs that you have, if that's creating a life that you really desire. And we're going to do an exercise after this to go through that, just so you can see what you believe. Step 5, work through any unconscious or energetic blockages. So this is our inner child work. This is our emotional release techniques. These are energetic practices. You can have shamanic therapies. This can look many, many, many ways. It's working through inner blockages of unworthiness, right? Basically, is really the key. Worthiness is a really powerful thing for all of us to explore and dive deep into, because it's the biggest blockage that very often prevents us not only manifesting wealth, but love, or many, many things, even the house that you desire. Okay, Tam, can you change the slide, please? So I talked about trust being like this vital ingredient in manifesting. So how can we cultivate trust? So a really practical way to cultivate trust is, instead of focusing on all of those things that reaffirm your scarcity, we're going to search for evidence that it's working. Okay? So we're going to start cultivating small wins. So this can be anything as, you know, you start doing your money affirmations, you declared your intention to receive whatever money, you know, and you go for coffee one day and the lady says, I'm going to treat you. Celebrate that. You've just saved €2 or whatever currency you live with, you have. Okay? Focus on the evidence that it's working. And this is a discipline practice as well. So that's whether someone gives you something free. That's even if you make €50 more this month. That's whether you have a thought of something you desire and it appears. Again, this requires discipline. And discipline in the healthy form, we tend to see discipline as this like army militant thing, and it's not. Discipline is an act, a really great act of self-love. Okay? So celebrate these small wins and focus on what you desire to create, because where we focus, our energy goes. Energetically, that's like an arrow. And then practice patience. So we have this erroneous belief that patience means that it's going to take longer. Doesn't mean it's going to take longer. Very ironically, the more that we're patient, the easier. Okay, I'll answer that question at the end. The more that we practice patience, the easier that it is for something to drop through. So we have less resistance, okay? This is how we let go of control. And I have to affirm this all of the time. I let go of control. I let go of control. I let go of control. I trust divine guidance. Like, this is literally my mantra continuously, because it is my hardest practice. Practicing patience, ironically, means that very often we can have instant manifestations. Patience equals trust, quite simply, for the universe, and lack of resistance. And the final key for manifesting money is that I want you to let go of the how. And I know we're so used to like planning all the action steps, and like those of us that have like really Virgo like me, or really structured, or very much in our masculine, the fact that I'm saying let go of the how is like, what, this girl is crazy, like what is she talking about? Like, all you need is desire, why, feeling, and trust the universe is going to bring you it, okay? And how do we know the path? You have to follow the pings. The pings aren't mental, the pings are bodily. So when I started my financial path, I never knew how much was going to come through. I never knew how it would come through, but I felt this course and there was something in my body that said yes. Gifting this woman in Argentina €1,400 felt right, even though rationally it felt wrong. And I trusted that my body knew more than my mind did, because the limitations exist within the mind, not within the body. So the easiest way to work through those limiting beliefs is actually trusting the body's wisdom. Okay? And when we co-create with the universe and we want to plan everything, we're actually limiting our creation Because our mind can only imagine so far, right? And when you open and you're like, okay, I'll put that rough structure and then I open to whatever wants to come through me. Remember, we're that creative channel. What you're going to manifest can be so much greater. And I mean this in respect to money. I mean this in respect to relationships, right? Really manifesting that relationship that feels so much better than you could ever have imagined. Or, I don't know, I always do this with workshops or retreats that I host. You know, I get there and the first thing that I do is I take myself out of the equation. I say, I'm here now, I've done the preparation, but whatever needs to come through will. And then when I'm in that place, what happens is that everything that manifests is so much greater than I could imagine. This equals living your deepest desires, okay? We do all of these things. And this is the path to living your deepest desires in your physical reality. And initially, this is going to be plus time, plus effort, plus focus. But eventually with these things, the place that we get to is what's called living in flow. It's effortless financial abundance and freedom. It's that moment of instantaneous manifestations. But we need to have gone from effort to get to effortlessness. And that's when it gets easy, okay? And that is basically, Tam, can you change slide, please? Fab. And that is really the building blocks to understanding how to create our financial wealth. So I see that I've got a few messages. Amazing. And I'm going to look at that afterwards. And quickly, what I want to do is a little exercise with you guys to explore your money beliefs, okay? And so do you guys have your paper and your pens in front of you? I just want you to take 5 minutes to write down all your beliefs around money. And if that's difficult for you, I want you to say in your head, I love money. Making money is easy for me. And I want you to explore what you hear behind that. And to give you an example, I said this to Tam earlier, and I said to her, when you say making money is easy for me, what comes to you? And the story that she tells herself is, I'm a hairdresser, I'm never going to make money. And so her belief was erroneous because of a job that she's had prior to her life. She can never make money, okay? And so I want you to really write down those, and I want you to explore if you think that these beliefs are serving you. And I want you to be really honest, because this isn't a test. This is for your benefit. I'm going to give you a couple more moments, and only that because I'm really aware of the time. And what we're going to do is that we'll finish this section within the hour. And if you want to stay for questions, we'll do longer than the hour, because I really want to dive into those questions, as I think there's like a lot of richness in that. Okay. And I just love talking about money, guys. Amazing. Okay, guys, I want you to have a look at your beliefs. And I want you to think, if this is what I believe about money, what kind of financial reality do you think you're creating? Is that a financial reality that you desire? Again, being honest. This isn't about judgment. And something really powerful that when we do the personal inner work, it's stepping out of judgment and stepping into gentle curiosity, which is getting to know ourselves deeper and more. Okay. And I want you to ask yourself, is this the financial reality that you want to be living? And the final question I want to ask you is, are you willing to change? Right? Because that's the first stage. We have to be really willing to change. And change means uncomfortable. Okay. If someone's ready, I would love someone to unmute themselves and share their beliefs and their reflections. I know it can be scary, but it would be so appreciated, because I think it's really beneficial for everyone to see a real life example.
Hello.
Hi, beautiful.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, can I just say I am feeling all the feels here. Full presentation in the best way possible. And it's interesting, the things that I wrote down. So I definitely have this belief around money that it is selfish and attached to ego. Purely just because of when you look in the world now and the billionaires and kind of what I don't know why, it's just this belief that I have of like, when you have so much, it's like, why aren't you sharing? It's like this very sort of thing where I feel like it's almost a flawed exchange system. And like in an ideal world, I would love to see everyone bartering and trading. And I think that's where my big blockage lies. Yeah.
So grateful that was the first point, because I think like there's going to be pretty much 90% of people feeling exactly the same, right? And this is actually something that we go through because we've seen so much corruption in our world surrounding money. So we have this negative association with it. But what we need to understand is you living in scarcity, right?
Yes.
Doesn't help the situation, right? So you living in scarcity, it doesn't help the people that are going through poverty. It doesn't help the people that need our support, okay? So we're almost like unconsciously punishing ourselves. And what we have to really understand is that money is an energy and it's neutral, okay? So it doesn't actually have a charge. It's something that we use. And I'd like to share a personal story here with this. And something that's been very important to me in my money journey is that I realized the more abundant I was, the more I could help. Okay. And so the way that I cultivated my abundance is on this new paradigm in that we share. Okay. And when I didn't have money, I wasn't able to share. I wasn't able to contribute to good to causes, you know. And now I live in this place where, you know, I have a friend, a really intimate friend, that with the coronavirus, we've gone through this thing, right? That's caused change. She was stuck in the Philippines and she couldn't afford flight back. Well, I have over $1,000, and I believe that I'm abundant. So for me, it's easy to give my friend $1,000. I've got another friend that just moved to the States through the coronavirus, and because she had to pay for so many flights. Again, for me, she's my friend, and I believe in a reality where it's not mine. I'm so abundant, right? That there's enough for all. So the first thing I messaged her was that, you know, you need that, and I'm going to send that to you. And it's a very common practice for me to give or share well over 1,000 euros, pounds with people as they need it, right? And that's the new paradigm that we're creating. And the paradigm where we're all abundant is that we share in need, and we realize that we're this family, okay? And so you can choose a new story for finance. It doesn't have to be corruption. And by making yourself in scarcity, by being in that frequency, we're not actually doing anything to remedy the issue in the world in the first place.
Yes, that makes so much sense. That brings so much clarity. Really, because that's how I feel. I'm so much a giver, but when one is in a place of scarcity, especially in my mind now with Corona being a small business and everything here in the States, it's I then attach to what I do have because it feels so scarce at the moment.
Exactly.
But I'm actually such a giving person. That to me is so important. So it's like this, again, coming back to resistance, creating that resistance within me and releasing that blockage. And so that's why I know some people asked in the chat as well about ways in which one can release that blockage.
Okay, so if we're experiencing, very specific to your situation, if we're experiencing resistance, okay, so there's many things that we can do. And I want you to start affirming, I am willing to change. I am willing to change this pattern within me. We have to start there. I am willing to believe in a different world. I'm willing to trust in the unseen, okay? Now, for your specific situation, okay, what is interesting is that I'm a very giving person, okay? That's a statement. But what we want to explore with you specifically, and this is where working one-to-one with someone is super powerful because we can get deeper in these things. But how good are you at receiving and feeling worthy of receiving without doing anything? Because as women, okay, we've kind of learned that we come to the world and we give, and then, you know, we don't ask and we don't have needs because we don't want to be needy, and, you know, all of these things. And that actually prevents us gaining wealth as well. So we want to find exactly where that blockage is, where we learned that. And if we learned that through, you know, through our childhood, we want to be working on it mental level. So we want to be reprogramming the subconscious mind. Hypnosis, energetic medicine. So I use hypnosis, I use energetic medicine, I use shamanic practices, I use affirmations. It's really too big of a topic for me to really go into each practice right now. But the main thing that you need to focus is that we need to reprogram the subconscious mind, and then we need to be dealing with where that memory is in the body. Okay, so if it's kind of around unworthiness, not wanting to receive, or, you know, making ourselves smaller. I talk a lot about being a woman because I am a woman, but this happens in both genders as well, right? So we want to be doing inner child work. So we can connect to the inner child, doing inner child meditations. We can do therapies around inner child where we connect those memories to where we hold that in the body. And so there's techniques called emotional release techniques where we can work through this. And we can do embodiment techniques where we release the emotions from the body, okay? So there are various techniques you can use. My biggest recommendation is follow the pings, because you're going to feel callings to work with people, or you're going to feel callings to different modalities, and that's going to support you. But if we don't do that deeper work, then it's very hard to unblock ourselves. And this is why I'm an integrative health practitioner. I teach many, many tools because we need those tools in our life as things come up, right? And that's how you become your own therapist.
I hear you. I hear you and I feel you, and I thank you so much, Hannah, really.
So welcome. Hannah as well, but Hannah with an H.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to mute myself again. I really appreciate it so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for unmuting yourself first, because I know it can be scary. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Does anyone else have any, does anyone else want to share their beliefs and what came up for them looking at those beliefs? And we'll do one more person and then we'll move on to questions.
Hi. So can you hear me, everybody?
Oh, Mayra. Hi, baby.
Yes, I going through her Hannah's beliefs. Actually, that's been something which has been going through realizing this year, and actually rich people were coming to my life this year, and actually one of them told me randomly, if I am rich, if I'm wealth, I can help others, and that really hit me off. So I wanted just to mention that. My personal beliefs or things I wrote down is coming from my family, how my family has always lived in scarcity and struggling, and coming from civil wars and big families, small money, and so on. So my grandpa literally died worried about money, literally. So I realized how all my life, obviously I had all these patterns coming to me. And I realized, and I wrote down, is living in scarcity, living in limited money or very little money, or not even money being there for the whole family. And this little money they had or we gave it away. My grandparents, my parents, it is always like, okay, I have this small amount, but this is for my children, this is for my grandchildren, this is for my family, and so on. So that's my thoughts there, which I already knew, was great to write down.
So for you, Omira, and thank you so much for sharing that, because this is a beautiful thing. When we're talking about blockages, what we need to work through is our family story, okay? And we all have a different family story. So you've got different things there. Firstly, necessity. And secondly, you've got, when I receive, I give it. So kind of when we talked about wealth being 3 stages, we actually are open to receiving it. So maybe money comes through, but it's hard to hold on. And very often there is conditioning, and I can't say exactly in your case, but there's conditioning around it's selfish for me to keep this. And what we need to understand is that we can give, but then we also need an element of boundaries, okay? And so this is actually a balance. So it's boundaries and self-care and looking after myself. And again, you know, we're all here to be responsible over ourselves, right? So we look after ourselves and then we support others. And when we're actually not living in that frequency, we're going to cause illness within our body anyway. You know, you said this happened to your grandfather, and it's extraordinary how these emotional patterns actually play out in our health. And when we start understanding our health, it's really an incomplete picture if we don't explore this. So for you, you have to write a new money story. And that was actually going to be my next exercise, but I'm going to mention it now. So a new money story, for example, my money story in my family was like, I lived in England, right? And my dad is like typical old English in the fact that in England it's cold, but we weren't allowed to use central heating in my house because it costed money. We had one house with a fireplace on, to the point where my sister got chilblains on her feet, and my mum was too embarrassed to explain the doctor why. She said, oh, she was out in the snow. Right? That is how tight my dad was on money, okay? And when I started making money, the first thing my dad said to me, he was like, do not tell anyone, never tell the family, don't tell people around you. People would judge you, it is bad, right? So that was very much my conditioning. So I started making money, and then I went into all of this shame, right? And so there had to be this point where I was like, I see you, I see this is where I've come from. That is not my story. That is not my story. Okay? And so you write a new story, and I want you, and initially when we write a new story, it's going to be really hard to put that into our consciousness, and this is where the effort part comes in. So your money story, my money story, looks something like this. Making money is a bypass for me, a byproduct of living an aligned, happy, pleasant life. Okay, the more balanced and joyful and content that I am, the more money I make. My income increases every month. I adore my job and I'm constantly aligned with my purpose. I only work with soulmate clients that feel good, that I love as much as, they love me, and I create beautiful connection. This is how I create my abundance. I'm open to miracles. I'm open to money coming. And you write this story as if it's in the present tense. And you read this story every day. Every day you wake up and you read your new money story, okay? And this becomes sacred. This is a sacred text for you, right? This becomes your point of reference. And again, like I mentioned, when those thoughts of scarcity come up, we're aware of them and we go back to our money story and we affirm our money story again. Here's a little top tip. To reprogram the subconscious mind, we program the subconscious mind from 0 to 6 years old. So pretty much everything that we experience from 0 to 6 becomes a belief that becomes our truth, that gets wired in our brain. The easiest way to reprogram this, so old beliefs and stories from our family, is that in the morning and the evening, as we wake up and as we go to sleep, our brain waves become slower, okay? So it's kind of almost this state of hypnosis that's really, really, really easy to create a new story in your subconscious mind. So after this workshop, I'm going to invite you, I'm going to send this information out. You write your money story, you record it on your phone, and when you wake up, you play it. So you're still half asleep, you don't know what your name is, but your subconscious is wide open. And you play it and you reprogram yourself. You consciously reprogram yourself. And before you go to bed, you do it again. And through this discipline, and again, discipline isn't about 100% because sometimes then we can be really hard on ourselves. We still have flow in discipline, okay? Aim for 80. 80% is like superb. I'm probably at like 75, Does that answer your question of how to rewire that story?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome. Anyone else? A belief or something?
I wanted to share my story. Anna, hey.
Hey, babies.
So for me, it's quite the opposite, because I come from like my 0-7 age years. They were very healthy and very much about how much lucky I was as a child. I was a very lucky child, very much. So I lived in surrendered by all this wealth, and that was like normality to me until like my family lost everything. Mm-hmm. So then the main point about money was you gotta make sure everybody knows that you're still rich, that you're still fine, that we have possessions, that we own stuff. So all the money thing was very related to appearance. And so pleasing people. So my idea of money, is thinking about making money, is I want making money being myself. I will make money selling myself, pleasing people, telling people what they want to hear, what they want me to be, basically, or just having their convictions or opinions. Don't say my truth, don't follow in my truth, because that's basically what I honestly think about it. And that's what happened in my life. Until I was following people, I was making money. But then when all the time that I said, no, I don't want to do this, I don't like this job, I want to do my way, that didn't work.
And this is amazing. So we actually have a trauma there associated to money, right? Because we were living this life where we didn't really have to think about it. And then we were in this radically different situation as a child, and that's frightening, right? It's this huge moment of uncertainty. But the programming that we have there, and you said it really, really clearly, is I have to be someone else to make money, right? I can't be myself to make money. And so anytime that yourself, again, the universe reflects what you believe. So every time yourself, you're not going to make money. And so the story that we have to change, so your money story has to be, when I'm myself, I make money, it feels good, people appreciate me being myself, I make authentic connection, and as a byproduct of this, I am financially wealthy. And that's where we have to change it. And this is really beautiful, and I appreciate you for sharing that, because it shows how different our beliefs are and where our blockages are. Me and Maddie, they actually work one-to-one together, so it's really amazing, and we explore this together. And so what we do is we actually unpick what our childhood beliefs were, so we can create that different reality. And so this is where the taking responsibility, you know, for what you're manifesting in your life comes in. And that's when you start doing the deeper work. So we do the energetic therapies together, we do these kind of things. But in respect to your money story, it's about writing that money story. Okay, writing that new money story for you, where you can be yourself and you can earn that wealth. Because again, like Amira, that is a fake story. That is your family story. That is not yours. And you have, hey love, bye my love, bye Claire. So lovely that you hopped on. And we're going to close up soon anyway, because we've gone on a fair amount. So you're taking responsibility. You're willing to changeness. That's not really a word, but you know what I mean. Is taking ownership of, that's my family's story, that was my family's life, I'm not that person, so I'm going to do the work to change that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So is there a line between trusting money will come and buying things when you're super low on money and being simply unwise and unrealistic with money? That it's a blockage, but I'm stuck. Okay, so this is a very good question. There is a line. So I want to tap into the body's wisdom. Okay, the body's wisdom is going to be directing you. You're going to be feeling the pings, right? You're going to know. So if we're investing in something that's going to be changing our financial reality, then yes, right? If we're feeling that good feeling, yes. This is different. It's two very different ends of the extreme. Like going out and spending 2,000, this really depends on clothes, because we've got an addictive pattern, probably isn't to our highest good, right? But this is one extreme. What's really interesting is the story you're telling yourself when you're buying stuff. So wait, where is Charlotte? I want to explore exactly how this is coming up for you. Hi, love. Can you share how this is coming up for you?
Yeah, I was just looking for the unmute. I'm sorry. Hi. Yeah, so how this is coming up is that I am noticing that I have, from my dad mostly, while there was always enough money, he's like super anxious about money and not having enough, and always anxiety of being in debt. And I've been noticing lately that I took on those thoughts, and whenever I go out and or buy a coffee or get groceries, when I want to get organic foods, or when I sometimes just want to have a good dinner or something, it's never without self-judgment, because it's always a thought, I don't have enough money, and I'm still loaning money from my parents, I'm still not self-sufficient, blah blah blah. And I've been noticing how restrictive that is, and I feel it cramping in my body as well. And there's also another change where I do see also a big opening and a big sense of trust in certain things that I give money to, and also being okay with not knowing, but with spending money on, yeah, maybe it's the things that you were talking about, like if it's in your highest good or not. So when it comes to food or more entertainment type of stuff, or things that are not really purely aligned? Maybe that's where the guilt comes in. I'm not quite sure.
So I'm going to be 100% honest with you.
Yeah.
So we've been controlling our spending, right? And we're still in scarcity. Does that make sense? So the way that we're feeling as we go to buy things, that's still being reflected to us. So it's clearly not working, right? It's not working, and we are okay. So again, this is what I was saying about, we're feeling that scarcity, we're feeling that judgment as we go to buy things. So that's going to be reflected back to us, right? So can I buy? Yes, it's so important. Like we're declaring to the universe, I am worthy. So I'm worthy of organic food if I want to eat organic food, right? I'm worthy of that coffee if I want to. Again, you're emitting a frequency, and that's being reflected back to you. So what we need to be working on again is that anxiety story that we have from our family. Notice it always comes from our family, right? Always. Like, so that story that your father did the best he can. It's not about judgment to our parents ever. But he sold you a story. He programmed you with a story that is not working. So now it's time to jump into trust and do things differently. Okay, so that includes, I talked about we're affirming in the morning, I'm financially abundant, and then we go out and we're like, oh, I can't spend those £2. So what are we declaring to the universe? Scarcity. That is our frequency. The note that you're holding is scarcity. Right? And how does money come through? So when we start changing our note of abundance, right? And when we start saying, I can afford this £2 coffee, do you know what I mean? I can afford these organic vegetables because I'm deeply worthy. Oh, an opportunity is going to come through. Someone suddenly wants me for this job, or also, right? But we have to hold that note of abundance, and we have to work on that story. So again, your money story needs to change, because financial freedom isn't control. I've constantly got money coming in, and at no stage am I like controlling, like, oh, I shouldn't buy that fruit or veggie. That is aligned. Your body is your temple. We are worthy, right? And declaring our worth is deeply looking after our body, whether that's moving it, whether that's the way that we eat. So how do we know when we're spending unnecessarily? This is such a subjective thing, but the vibration that I'm really getting from here is that it's really twofold. Okay, so we want to have a rough structure of the, this is so subjective to every person's personal experience. Okay, the first thing is trust. Wait, what is this? Quality versus quantity. We want to unpack this. So it's like, what would be unnecessary spending for you? What is unnecessary spending? Someone define unnecessary spending. Because financially free is nothing's unnecessary spending. Everything is possible. So we're still limiting ourselves. A coffee, food, all of these things is totally valid, right? I want to remind you, when I started working with my abundance, I made a $5,000 investment. Is that unnecessary? Is that terrifying? The money came. The money came. So maybe that feels too big right now because we're not in that place. And that's why we want to be working with finding that evidence. So start with small things. What do I want to manifest? What do I want to be earning? How can I work with this story that is blocking this come through? This unnecessary spending is still scarcity. Is it unnecessary for me to give a friend over $1,000? For a lot of it is. But financial freedom says it's not. My belief system is that I could easily become a millionaire, and I will. Right? Because I've worked through layers of conditioning. And this might be really, really shocking for a lot of us right now because we're not in that place. But I can't make an exact decision on every purchase you make. That's not the way that I work. I want you to trust that you know, right? Again, what are you feeling in your body? What is your body telling you? And you're going to learn this through experiencing, because right now this is just theory. And so the practice is your life. Your life is your spiritual practice. The fact that we believe it's unnecessary expending probably means that we're going to have that reflected back to us. There is no limit. We are unlimited beings. That is the deepest truth of all the truths. I remember once that I started getting into my scarcity, I was like scared of investing. I invested, I'm about to invest another $5,000 in a coach. I've just invested in a house, which altogether was $3,000. So I'm investing about $10,000 in a very short period of time, right? Is that unnecessary? It's the things that I desire. And so when I was getting fearful and I was showing this to Tam about this investment, I noticed that I was putting on my taps and not enough water was coming through, right? And this was symbolic that I was blocking creative energy coming through me. When I tapped into, I can experience anything I desire and there is nothing too big. Oh, suddenly I have water again. Suddenly I have an abundance of water, right? And I paid for these things and it was fine, and this money comes. We are unlimited beings. And I didn't start with that because that's very, very hard for us to comprehend when we're starting. And I want you to start with small things. It's very unlikely that you'll go from this stage to having $100,000 immediate manifestations. You have to build up. And that's why we search for evidence. Someone paying for our coffee, saving this. So when I started increasing my wealth, I started making 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. From 10,000, it was 20,000. Because I had to build my belief. And I want you to build your belief, but there is no limit. And I know that's really hard to understand. So explore what's telling you that there is a limit, and then work on that story, then work on that blockage. And then when you get to that level, see what's coming through into your physical reality. And if you're overspending, so this is another thing. This is another layer, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because we've really gone over, right? Say money comes in and then we overspend, right? So overspending, right? There's no such thing, but overspending would mean that our bank account is not full. So money comes in and then suddenly we're back to zero. That is not a case of unnecessary spending because there's an energetics behind that. There's a lack of belief that we are worthy of this money. And that's what's interesting to work on. Okay? So that's like the threefold of wealth, isn't it? The maintaining and the increasing. And what blockages we have there. It's not actually to do with your spending. It's to do with your frequency. It's to do with what you believe. It's to do with your worth. It's to do with your money story. I can spend 10 grand a month and my bank account is still increasing. Am I spending unnecessarily? I'm always investing, sharing. But I didn't start this way. I built. And you'll find the same. So for all of you that are exploring this, start practicing cultivating trust by searching for examples of this working. Okay, love. Amazing. I'm going to close the questions here because I'm aware that we've gone over like half an hour. And I hope, bye Loreto, and I hope that makes sense. We could do a whole course on money because this is a process, right? And so again, look at your expectations. Today we planted a seed. Now comes your personal work. Now comes you putting it into play in your life. Start experiencing yourself. Start observing yourself living this, right? And this is really how it works, because if not, you know, we really could be here hours. If you really have any questions, you can drop me through a question on my WhatsApp, and I'm happy to answer that specifically to you if you feel really blocked or confused. But I'm going to close this now, okay? And I want to thank all of you so much for turning up. And honestly, like, just know, turning up to these kind of things, showing up, making the time is already declaring that you want to do this, okay? This is declaring that I'm getting serious about this. I'm taking responsibility. And for you guys that want to dive into this deeper with me, I'm running a 4-month course that is training people with literally everything I know to create a life that you desire. Because creating a life that you desire isn't a one-time workshop. It's a practice, okay? And I'm going to be sharing everything from the physical to the energetic. There's 8 modules, 8 guest speakers, and we're going to dive deep. And you're going to get one-to-one support for me. And I'm going to train you because my biggest passion is teaching other people to live this way. Tam started working with me 1st of August, and she had €4 in her bank account. She now has over 3 grand. It's possible, right? But Tam has been very disciplined. Tam will confirm that. This works, okay? We just need to take away those, strip back those barriers to letting it in. It's like love, same as money. And so if any of you guys would be interested in working closer with me and Tamsin and the team, I'm offering a €200 discount for anyone that books a one-to-one session with me that I'm offering free for people on this workshop. We'll send you a link. In that session, obviously, there's no commitment. There's, just to see if there's connection. But if you are from this workshop and you book that session with that link and you decide to start integrative healing with me and actually train yourself to be your own therapist to create the life that you desire, then you get 200 off the whole course. So I would love to hear from you guys. It would be such an honor. And if you want to drop through any questions that you feel are unanswered, that would also be a beautiful, beautiful pleasure. Thank you so much for listening. I know I've been talking for a while, but my Leo loves to chat. So big kisses, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Bye. Oh, I love reading you. It's nice to see everyone go. I'm like, oh, look at them. John, don't you want to leave? You enjoyed it so much here, you thought you'd just hang out for a while. Have you missed me that much? Thank you, sweetie. Tam, you can stop recording now.